Okay, hey, it's Megan here, and I'm with Laura from Little Elf Family Services, and we're with Placid Birth Connection. And today we are going to talk about one of the biggest challenges that families are facing during that first year of life. But first, I'm going to introduce you to Laura a little bit, or maybe I should just let her introduce herself. Laura, why don't you tell us all about
Thank you.
you?
I call myself a new parent sanity specialist and a marriage apocalypse warrior. I am in the process of creating the Marriage Apocalypse Warrior Training Academy, which is going to be freaking awesome. Um, but I have a master's in early special education, and I'm a parent and marriage coach, and super excited to help families to reduce stress and manage conflict and have more joyful. I like to say that I want your relationships
Mm.
to fill you with happiness and stay that
Yes,
way over
let's
the long haul and create
And I feel like
because when
during
that
that,
happens, your baby can thrive too, by the way. Like the thing is we get so focused, and I'm so guilty of this. We get so focused on taking care of that sweet baby that it can be easy to not take care of ourselves. And what most helps that sweet baby is when we can take care of ourselves, which is a really hard um balance to find. It requires a
yeah,
village. That's why we say parenting requires a village.
right. And we just by offering this video, we hope to be like a little part of that village for you. Um, so that really actually just kind of leads into what we're going to be talking about today, which is lack of sleep, because that lack of sleep has such a rollover effect into other areas of our relationships and of our parenting. And I remember when mine was little and the lack of sleep being the most difficult thing I think I found to deal with. And because my nerves were so frayed and my patience was so short with myself and with my son and with my husband, my relationship was like saying things that I never thought that we would say to each other, and
Right.
at 2 a.m. And so
Really.
that's what I really wanted to talk about today. So can you let us know some either I'm just going to kind of let you take over here, and whether that's like tips for dealing with lack of sleep or how to actually get more sleep would be beautiful. Roll with it.
Awesome. Um, so yeah, I think one of the big things is understanding what's kind of normal and that really babies do need to wake up every few hours in those early days and just so one thing is I think what I call mood spread. This is not 100%, there's not 100% correlation, but it's very frequently related, which is that I'll see how my dog does with this. He always freaks out when I do this. Um, that when we are calm, and it's usually easier when it's like, you know, in the morning or in the afternoon, or maybe even in the earlier part of the evening when we're still kind of functioning okay. But, when we pat the baby, it is usually the most
Mm.
soothing when the patting is about at the rate of a calm mother's heartbeat. So when you were calm, when you were pregnant, the baby could experience the feeling of your heartbeat. And so we tend to be the most calm when it's that calm heartbeat sort of a pace. And one of the struggles that I see all the time, and I myself have experienced, is that when it gets to be midnight and one, and two, and three, and four, and five, and baby,
Go
you
to
gotta
sleep,
sleep now because I just can't
baby.
function any longer. It's not soothing.
That is such a great tip, and it's actually one that I've never heard of before, and I can definitely relate to that, like, even just doing that to myself felt calming and soothing.
Right?
Yeah, okay, that's
But that's
cool.
why, like, when I get to
And
the fast part, my dog is in his crate right now, so he can't get to me. And he's got his soothing stuff going on over there too. But when he's in my office and I do that, he comes to check on me like every time. In fact, if you look on my Instagram, pretty recently I did a video where I did that, and he did come over and was like,
He
"Mom, are
senses that.
you okay?"
Yeah, they're so tuned in, and so are babies, right? They're
Yes.
so tuned in to that emotion that you're bringing to the table with whatever
Yes.
it is that you're trying to do. And you started to touch on it at the beginning, but knowing what's normal, and that made me think of the word expectations, because I think that was a real big pitfall for my family. Was I had these expectations because I was relying way too heavy on what happened with my small circle of friends that had recently had babies, or on this book that I really, really liked, and this is how I want it to go. And those like kind of hard outline of numbers by 0 to 3. I bought some programs. It's like, here's the 0 to 3, here's the 3 to 6. And I expected him to be like plopped right in the middle of each of those. And when that wasn't happening, especially around sleep, I felt like I was doing it wrong, baby was doing it wrong. Clearly, we're all just wrong. So, can you tell
Yeah.
me a little bit more about expectation management, and what is, normal or common or, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there's several things that come to my mind. One of them is
Mhm.
um observing, like as much as you can, just stopping to take a deep breath and observe your own baby and observe what you think that the
Mhm.
crying might mean. Um, Sometimes we have to take this stance. I don't know if have to is the right way to say it, but like one stance we can take is maybe I can't soothe my baby, but I can be here for my baby while my baby is upset. Um,
Ooh, wow, that's so good, and that relieves so much pressure off of you. And I know I keep referring to myself here, but hopefully this resonates with the people seeing it. But I do remember feeling that pressure to, like, I should be able to soothe my baby,
right.
and when it wasn't happening, that's when the feelings of like guilt or I don't have the skills it takes come in. So thank you for letting all of us, moms and dads, off the hook with that statement.
Yeah. And even I think it for me it was also really powerful. Um, there's a acronym OWL that is observe, wait, and listen. And sometimes the biggest breakthroughs that we had in our house were just like not rushing in to fix it with but by stepping back and taking that deep breath and observing. Sometimes I couldn't figure it out, but often, and sometimes it took until the next day or 2 days when
Mm.
like the teeth would break through, or you just don't know. You don't always know in the moment. Like another big moment that um that has been helpful for some people is to think about like when that kid won't nap for more than 30 or 40 minutes. um I think also having an expectation about sleep cycles is also super revolutionary, because an average newborn sleep cycle is about 30 to 40 minutes ish, more give or take. And one thing about that is that one of the key developmental tasks in terms of sleep is to learn to connect sleep cycles. So it's easy to think, oh, well, my baby just didn't need a very long nap. Because so often a baby will wake up they'll go into a deeper sleep, and then they'll go into a lighter sleep. And it's not actually that they didn't need a longer nap, it's that they have not yet learned how to connect two sleep cycles together. And so providing help at that 30, 40, 50-minute mark when the sleep cycle is lighter, and helping them to go back to sleep and learn, getting some practice at connecting those sleep cycles together, is strengthening the muscle of that skill that can later help you in the night.
Mm.
That's
Wow.
one thing to really just right? Like
Okay.
it's a
So
skill,
can
learning to connect sleep cycles, but then also having an awareness um of that circadian rhythm. So another thing to be aware of is oh, I just lost my thought. Um and like the six states of infant consciousness. So a
well, okay,
baby, yeah.
before you dive into that, can you give us maybe one or two ways that you would recommend helping to connect that
Oh,
those sleep cycles? Is it just to stand back and like let baby work cry, not cry it out, but work it out on their own a little bit? Or is it to just not rush in, right? And like offer a feeding or something like that?
I think to me,
Or it depends on the
depends how
baby.
old the baby is. A baby that's really young, I mean, I know I've done things like this, the padding, like not picking up. Presumably, my general rule is do as much as necessary and as little as possible. And it's an experiment because your kid is different than my kid. So, how much is necessary depends on how old they are, it depends on how crazy the environment is. Um, we want to strengthen that muscle of learning to go back to sleep. So if they're okay with, if you and the baby are okay with them having a minimal amount of fussing, especially after like 4 to 6 months, then yeah, let them practice. Before 4 months, maybe it's just patting their back or patting their butt. Or well, okay, presumably they're not on their butt. Presumably they're lying down for the sake of safety. Presumably they're lying on their back. So presumably you're gonna pat like their belly or their chest or their leg.
Mhm.
Um, if you need to pick them up and rock them again before 4-ish months, then go ahead and pick them up and rock them again. Like the overall goal is to connect the sleep cycles. I think it's helpful to think about that kids learn to calm by being calmed.
Mhm.
So, especially in those early months, like a mixture of being soothed and having opportunities to practice soothing. One of the strategies Dr. Karp talks about in The Happiest Baby on the Block is the idea of rock in those early months, rock your baby to sleep, feed them to sleep, do whatever you need. But then when you put them down, do it ever so slightly, not gently, so that they wake up just enough that they have to practice that going back to sleep.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
so it's that fine line in the early months in particular. I think there's a fine line of and an experimenting process of like how much help does this baby need. If you want to just hold your baby and rock them to sleep, then go for it. It can be helpful to give them small amounts of, I do this because this is my muscle. I'm like, I always use the example that sleep is like a muscle and we're learning how to do it and we're building the strength in that muscle. Um, and so and we want to do it in a way. I'm so passionate about what I call the just right challenge, which is providing opportunities to practice new skills in a way that's not too easy. Like if we always rock them to sleep until they're a year, they're not going to get much practice at doing it independently. But in so not too easy, but also not too hard. Like to me, leaving a baby to cry for an hour is just not okay. Especially, but it also depends on how loud the cry is. Um, like it's a process of getting to know your baby and what works for them, which is an
Mhm.
experimenting. It's about observing, um, and seeing what
And being
works.
able to make, yeah, and maybe knowing when it's time, you know, what I would say in your heart to pivot or to adapt and adjust. And I remember finding myself so committed to what I thought should be working that I do think that I might have ignored those cues that they're giving off, right? Um, so taking that opportunity to observe and tune in and remember that this is between you and the parents and the baby, and like what is that relationship, and what are those needs, and can we honor that? Thank you for that.
Needs are huge. We all
Mhm.
have needs, and it's so important to be able to express them. And babies just have crying at the beginning. Like that's their
Mhm.
way of expressing needs. And sometimes we can figure it out. Occasionally we can't. Um,
Mhm. And the parents are, I know that when babies are born, science shows that the amygdala, like where our fight or flight responses, fight, flight, or freeze, it's like let up after birth. And so we are kind of like on full alert there. And so we're already kind of like, this, whenever we hear our baby needing something from us. And so I want to just reiterate what you said at the beginning, taking it full circle to just pause, maybe take a deep breath before, and checking in with yourself before going to baby, so that you're also helping to bring that calm energy.
yeah. And maybe even
Yeah.
having a list when you're in a more rested comparatively, when you're in a state where you're more rested and you've had some food, putting a list on the refrigerator of people that you can call, or if your partner is available, can you tag off? Like who having your resource list. If you can afford a postpartum doula, that's really awesome. If you can put one on your gift registry, that's really amazing. Um,
And not feeling
whatever.
like you have to do it all yourself, and that you and your partner have to do it all yourself. And we're not trying to be super moms here, right?
Right.
And I do feel like we've kind of have been trained in our society to suck it up and take care of it on your own. And if you can't, then well, you're not doing it good enough, or something. There's some, I don't know, sort of narrative I know that I kind of got stuck with somehow. I picked it up. So, really giving the parents permission to lean on those resources, whether that's professional, like you said, with the postpartum doula support, etc., or personal. Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that information. And if parents want to work with you more and get more, so that some of your amazing wisdom on sleep and so many other things, we're going to continue doing some videos and diving into some of these common challenges during the first year. How can they get in touch with you?
The best way is to text me at 916-579-4013, and we'll set up a time to chat, or just even text me your questions.
Wonderful.
Let me know what you need.
You're so open and you're so sharing with your knowledge. And we're so fortunate to have you here in Placer County. And I know that you also have a, a group coming up, correct?
I do.
For new
On Tuesday the
parents?
15th starts my next Gottman Bringing Baby Home program, and that, in spite of its title, it is applicable from pregnancy all the way through preschool. It's really the same
Mm.
concepts as the 7 principles that make marriage work, but they're in a different order, and it covers every topic we look at ourselves as parents and also as partners. And so it's really all about creating an environment where our baby can thrive. And it's amazing. The research says that babies of parents who took the class cry less, they smile more, they develop faster. The parents have less perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, which tells me that they feel better, they have higher relationship satisfaction, they have skills to manage conflict. So I really feel like this is a generations changing class. That can help you think about what kind of a parent you want to be and how you want to work together as a team so that your home feels warm. And I know we became parents without it, many, almost like coming up on 15 years ago. I'm like, did I count that right? 15. And that, And we became dog parents again recently, and it's just interesting because we've faced some of the similar challenges, but this time we were less at each other's throats because we had better tools to express appreciation, and we were constantly saying, "What do you need? What do you need? What do you need today? What do you need this week?" What like it's just been really amazing. So, yes, that's coming up starting on August 15th.
I love it, and those skills are so critical, and it would be just amazing if, like you said, everybody was able to have this information
I think so.
the knowledge is there and you have it to offer. So do please go check out Laura's website or send her a text would be even better. And thank you so much for being with us, Laura, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.